Yo.
Alright, we're going to be doing a mini ITX build, which is a very small computer, as you can tell, just from the motherboard. And the first thing you do with every PC build is you put in the CPU. And since I've built with this stuff before, I don't have the LGA cover. I looked for it, but I couldn't find it anywheres. Anyways, you can just slap the CPU in. They tell you, oh, line up the triangles, but the CPU will only fit in one way. You then want to line up those brackets underneath the screw. That way it's properly seated and has a lot of pressure on the socket. We'll throw in our RAM next. Just something easy to do. You just plop it in. Push down on each end until you hear a click. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to put in the SSD. Now we'll take off this heat spreader that is on the motherboard, and underneath here will be the M.2 slot that we plug in the SSD. There's also an M.2 slot on the back of the motherboard, but you preferably want to plug it into your boot one into this one. Make sure you have everything cleared out, and then when you go to put the SSD in, you want to make sure that it is plugged in at a 35-degree angle. And just like this. As you can see, you can't really tell, but it's at more of a 35-degree angle. And you want to take your screw and screw it down. I had the screw pre-placed there to add convenience for me. Now, make sure with your heat spreaders that you take off this plastic bit. As you can see, I forgot to do it because I forget to do it all the time. So just make sure you take that off before you build your computer. It's not going to be like the end of the world if you forget to do it, but you're better off. You should probably just do it anyways, because you don't want your SSD to overheat and then you lose all your data. Now we're going to install the stock Intel cooler. Problem with this is that, as you can see, the contact that it will make is circular. It doesn't cover the entire CPU heat spreader, as you can see here. And we're going to apply our thermal compound. My hand's feeling very rough. I've been doing a lot of stuff today, so I'm probably going to need these pliers here. Yeah, that made it a whole lot easier. Yeah, my fingers were feeling really sore, so no way I was getting that off with my bare hands without feeling a lot of pain. Alright. Now, this is where we put on the cooler. The mounting system for this cooler kind of sucks as well. And what you want to do is you want to take these things and you want to turn them to unlock them. And then you want to take them and then you want to pull up on them. That way you can easily push them through, and then you just reverse those steps. And when plugging it in, you want to plug it into the one that's the CPU fan. Everything on the motherboard is labeled, so it's very simple to do. Alright, now we have switched over to the POV. It would have been far too difficult to have the camera pointed up on my boom mic stand, and it would be a lot easier just to wear it on my face, because you could see more. Now, this is my second time recording this because my camera overheated and I lost all of this footage here. Right when I finished it too, which is very annoying. Anyways, you want to put the motherboard right in there. With this computer case, the motherboard will be upside down. You'll make sure that it gets lined up too. And you want to put screws in these 4 holes. That one, that hole right there, this one down here, And then lastly, this one over here. I'll do that quickly. Alright, now we've got the power supply. This bracket here has already been... It would normally be on the case, but I took it off and attached it off camera. But first, let me go and grab the cables. Alright, we've got our cables here, and we're going to plug them in. Now, make sure you plug your cables in the right way. This is the Molex, and it would go into the one that's labeled ID and SATA. On some other power supplies, they'd also have Molex labeled there, but it would just go in right there. Now, with your other parts, like this motherboard cable, it has two different sized plugs. So the one that plugs into the power supply is way bigger. Not only that, the one that attaches to the motherboard itself has two different brackets. And make sure that you turn on your power supply before you go and plug it in, or else you won't be able to turn it on. I have screwed it down, and you can see there's 4 screws. One right there, one right there. There's another one back in there, and all the way up in there, there's one. I'll just quickly go and plug this in. This is so that we can transfer the power from the plug on the outside to the plug on the power supply. So let me just quickly sneak that in right there. There we go. Alright. Now this here, this is the USB 3.0 plug. This goes to make sure that the 3.0 ports on your front I/O work. There's 2 of them on the top of the case, next or on each side of the power button, so that's why there's 2 cables there connected to one plug. Alright, this is the power switch button. Now, this part of PC building can get very confusing, but you'd only really need this one right here to actually turn on the computer. These 2 are just for the LEDs. And the reason why this is confusing is because each motherboard is different. So the layout would always be different between each one. So you have to go and look at the manual to make sure that you're plugging it into the right ports. On this motherboard, they are right here, and you put your positive LED first, your negative LED second, and then you'd put the power switch in the 3rd and 4th pins. There we go. So you'd want it plugged in just like that. As you can see, that's on the top row too, and it's in the 2nd pin layout area. Alright, we'll start plugging in our cables now. I'll speed this part up for you. Like I said, you want to make sure that your cables are plugged in the right way from the motherboard itself to the power supply. And yeah. Now we will switch over. So this is a PCIe riser. The reason why we're going to be using that is because if you try to plug this graphics card in normally, as you can see, it's not going to really work. There's not enough room, and there's no holes for you to really put anything through. You're not going to shove an HDMI cable or DisplayPort cable through that hole. So we'll run our riser through the back here, because it's easier. Here, I'll move the light as well. And then you're going to want to take it and you're going to plug it in. Make sure that the latch 2 is unlocked. Mine is already unlocked. And once you get it lined up, this riser you can kind of just push in just like you would the RAM. You'd hear a click from the latch. Yeah. Alright, so we're on the back now. And throughout all this, I was just cutting out the parts of me screwing in, because when wearing the camera, I'm looking through the lenses, and it's near impossible. Like, it feels like you want to throw up. This is at least easier, so I'll show you how I do it. So with the screw in, I have to get in real close in order to actually see what I'm doing. Also, put in the other screw here. Make sure that you pull that thing out so you can plug your graphics card in. Alright. This was a 1660. It's from Zotac. So it's not an ultimate graphics card, but a decent one. As you can see, it plugs right in, and you just want to lock it in place. You also want to make sure that you take the cable. I'll plug it in. Again, like I've said, make sure you're plugging these in the right way. If you plug them in the wrong way, ain't gonna turn out too well. So make sure you're using the right cables as well. And there we go. That should be plugged in. Let me just make sure. Alright. I'm going to plug in the Molex. This is for the fans. So when we turn it on, the fans will just start spinning. Alright, now we're on the back here. Now, we want to screw this to the case because we do not want our graphics card to do that. That's very bad. What we're going to do is turn this down. And we're going to hold it in place using these. So we're going to take it, we're going to take our graphics card, push it into place, and we're going to take our screws and we're going to shoot it into there and there. Now that we're going to also put this on here to ensure that that is properly covered. Now, we should be done. We just got to install Windows using this. I've already installed that, so we won't really need it. And yeah, all you'd have to do is just turn it on and check, make sure it's plugged into the monitor, and make sure the computer is actually plugged in. Yeah, just to show, you would plug your card in, and then you would turn it on just like that. But like I said, I don't need to do that. So all I have to do is just press it, turn it on. And we just have to look up at the monitor here, and it should just boot right into Windows. There we go. That was a pretty fast boot as well. Alright, and then once you've confirmed that it works, all you have to do really is just screw in your side panels, and that's pretty much it. Very simple to do, and doesn't take a lot of work or brain power. You just can mindlessly do it. And if you ever get confused with things, they're all labeled. Everything when building computers is labeled, and it's not like you can accidentally plug something into the wrong slot because they all have their own unique slots. Like I said, the only confusing part is the front I/O plugs when you're plugging in your power switch, or even on some cases you'll have your hard drive LED. Also, if your motherboard has it, you can also screw in your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth antennas. That way you get Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. But if you really want performance, use Ethernet. Anyways, yep, that's it. I'm just going to quickly show off the computer. This is actually before I tore it apart.